third. It's blind pick. I mean, if he's very comfortable on it, that's what he's going to go. And as we see into here, no Rona.
Yeah, it does look like they've decided to move away from it. GankStars going to stick to the same composition that they've gone with, and it looks like that Nemesis Titan have gone for a triple stun composition. So this is going to be a pretty exciting matchup. We saw a triple stun composition coming out earlier, which was pretty strong, but that was the very close game between Nemesis Hydra and that was and Liberation X, and that was an insane match. We've
actually seen very close matches from pretty much every single triple stun combo to boot. The first game of Nemesis Titan was up against Vega, not Vega, Vaughn yesterday, and they ran a triple stun against. And, well, didn't quite work because they're down here to the lower, but we have seen some really good moves out of triple stun comps today. We'll have to see which one will actually seal the deal here. Fuji is on a repeat glaive. We got the Koshka, the Fortress. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's exactly it, and the best thing about it, this early game aggression is exactly what I'm expecting to see from them again. But Nemesis Titan have learned from their mistakes. They're immediately moving up into the top half of the map. They're going to be looking to potentially set something up onto Fuji very early on into the game.
Well, I mean, Fuji was the monster of last round. If you can keep him a little bit more in check, and that way you can actually keep your three-man rotations here for the two.
So I've just realized that Stussy has actually, for the first time in the series, got himself Celeste. And that was the champion, the hero, sorry, that was banned in every single game so far. So we have to keep a close eye on Stussy and how well he performs, because if it has been banned, there has to be a major reason for it to be taken away from Stussy every single game.
Well, we've seen Koshka's banned, we've seen Fortress's banned, and both of them have their share of losses here in this tournament. So going into the Celeste, could that be the big key? Will Stussy now rise and shine, and will Nemesis Titan continue on to play day number 3 tomorrow?
Well, we'll have to find out as Rex looking for this early aggression.
And they find loving E-Man as he's really low hit points from all of that jungling. But now with his health so low, he does have that barrier up. It's not nearly enough. That's going to be one. Looking for the second. The afterburn onto Stussy. At the same time, Dragon was actually able to take down Fortress. So it's going to be a 2-for-1 exchange. No ace here this early. But at the same time, GankStars' early aggression once more panning out.
So right there, very nice rotation coming out from Fuji. I'm not entirely sure why Stussy decided to rotate down, because there was no way that a Celeste was going to win in that 3 versus 3 matchup. Fuji just has so much early game damage, or so much more early game damage than a Celeste would, and this is going to result in a massive CS discrepancy developing as Fuji gets collapsed upon.
Yeah, Fuji has to now deal with the 3v1 scenario. Does he actually have the afterburn? He does, but the Thunder Strikes is just not enough this early on to keep him down, so he will survive through it. What are the rest of his team doing? Well, they are, of course, all into that jungle, but they're not countering yet. They will be hitting that item shop about now. Still, about 500 gold between the teams, and if Stussy is actually up top dealing with Fuji, the 2v2 could actually favor very nicely for GankStars if they do go for an invade.
Certainly could, but they're going for the 3 versus 1.
Yeah, well, all right, an invade or an invade into the lane, it's just you're not going anywhere, Stussy. That afterburn has your number, and Fuji once more brings us to 3 kills.
So another fantastic start coming out from GankStars. Vega, Nemesis Titan just don't seem to know how to play around this early aggressive playstyle that GankStars is so good at.
Well, I mean, again, these are the big bans. Now, Wrecked, he might be a little bit too far forward, but the Rocket Leap is already out. Dragon Digger now might have to just settle for Old School if they can seal the deal. I don't think we have that stun from E-Man. Will we actually have the movement speed? We cannot catch up to the bouncy fun of that Koshka, and so they're just going to settle on poking down Fuji. Unfortunately, they just get nothing out of it.
It looks like, judging by the itemization, that a lot of shield is coming out for the side of Nemesis Titan to try and deal with the damage coming out from Old School. But thanks to the fantastic rotations coming out from Fuji, I'm not entirely sure if this is the best decision available to Nemesis Titan. Already we can see a very early aftershock being worked towards by Old School, and I think that going up against this lineup, I'm not entirely sure if that's the best thing that he could be going for, but it is something that he's comfortable with. It can definitely work during the early game, something that's very valuable on a Koshka. We'll have to see how well he can make that itemization choice work for him. Another thing we need to bring attention to is this vision control coming out from Wrecked. Throughout this series, he has been on point at getting those scout traps down and making sure that they know exactly where Nemesis Titan is looking for these rotations.
Yeah, it's an information game is a very strong one here for the GankStars Vega, especially game 2. Now 3 coming into it at a 3-1 advantage. 1,300 gold and counting between these teams. Koshka is actually sitting at 201 for the kills, so if she is going to pick up that item, it's going to be rather early, and I'm not too sure Light Shields will be enough to deal with it.
I'm not entirely convinced either, as it does look like Nemesis Titan once again trying to shut down this Fuji.
Stun 1, stun 2 into the third. Fuji's not going to go anywhere, or will he? The level 6 is there. The hit points is enough. The health on him is just too much to deal with. Even with a triple stun, they're just too far behind with their items.
Afterburn coming out from Fuji was on point. Only level 5 coming out from Stussy. Dragon Dagger, meaning that they had no ultimates available to get that last bit of damage to shut Fuji down. And notice Rekt has been giving away a lot of his experience to make sure that both Old School and Fuji have reached this level 6 mark. This could be an opportunity for them to look for a fight.
Yeah, if you have ultimates and your opponents don't, you have a big leg up when it comes to anything that you want to force. And, well, coming up to the 6-minute mark, this is usually when we're going to see some attention being put out to that gold mine. We've seen Tiny, we've seen all the way up to Immense. But so far with this lead, with the item advantage that Fuji and crew have, they could make a play.
They certainly could. Right now, have a look at the CS differential that's developing up in the top half of the map. Stussy currently sitting on 32 CS to the 51 of Fuji is really a large part of where this goal difference is starting to develop from.
Oh, they're going to find Stussy right out of that bush, and that's just way too much damage to deal with. The health just evaporates. Big red button gets stunned. It's not even going to be a turnaround from Dragon Dagger. He has to get out of dodge, and that is going to be the covering retreat there with Loving E-Man, and that is going to be the gold mine play they're looking for.
Old School doing a great job of holding on to his ultimate until Dragon Dagger tried to use the big red button. They recognized that they were being forced into a choke point, and if that big red button had gotten to every single member of GankStars Vega, they could have been in a lot of trouble. So that decision-making coming out from Old School was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not entirely too confident that Dragon Dagger is going to get too far out of this one. No, he won't, but hey, they took the turret for their trouble, and that's a lot of cash now under their belt. Down to about 1,300 difference.
I don't think they're going to be too upset about that. They're going to gain a little bit more control over the map. Having that turret down is also going to give your entire team a little bit extra gold, which they can use to reach their power spikes even sooner. But speaking of power spikes, have a look. The Aftershock now completed for Old School. Very early Shiver Steel coming out from Fuji. They want to be able to lock down onto those targets as quickly as they can. And a Reflex block coming out from Old School as well. Oh, double reflex block even coming out from the Fuji and Old School. Definitely something that you want against this triple stun comp.
Well, Dragon Dagger has his own, but Stussy at this point is just way too far behind. The Celeste is almost like a sitting duck in some of these engages. And because of that, I mean, she is going to have to work towards one, but instead she now actually picks up that Frostburn. So she's going to go for a little bit more utility rather than the survivability. And, well, against this early game, that might actually not work out.
Yeah, they have to be careful where they want to try and force all of their damage onto. If they're relying on Dragon Dagger to be the main damage dealer, having Stussy provide utility on the backline could very well work out for them. But it brings into question who GankStars decide to focus, because at the moment it is super easy for them to get onto Stussy.
All right, well, they're going to go fearlessly into the bush, as now it's going to be wrecked. He is getting absolutely wrecked. The shield reflects, not enough, but the rocket leap in. It's enough for Celeste to actually take home a kill, and that is now looking like hope here for Nemesis Titan, as Old School is just going to be trying to use her 4 little legs to get out of this one, and I'm not too sure we actually have the stuns. The big red button will get dodged out. Will that be enough for this captain to get in? This stun will connect. And that will be a 2-for-0 exchange. Finally, a little bit of life for Titan.
So finally, Nemesis Titan get the engagement
they might even get
want.
Fuji, the rocket leap in. He's going to use that reflex, but it won't matter. The Thunder Strike is bringing the rain.
So what a fantastic turnaround for Nemesis Titan. This is exactly the engagement that they were looking for. They funnel into a choke point, and they basically run straight into Loving E-Man. Tanking up so much of the front line meant that it was just what we were talking about. Stussy on the back line could provide a huge amount of utility, just get that poke down, with Dragon Dagger being free to get as much damage down as he wanted to. That was the perfect setup for Nemesis Titan. They were easily able to run away with that fight, getting the ace, getting the minion mine, and all of a sudden, this game is blown wide open.
5-4, and that gold difference, that 1,300, that 2,000, whatever the variable is, it is out of this equation. 8.9 to 8.4 as Titan takes the gold lead. This is also the first time we've seen a gold mine go down as it was candied. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of pressure and momentum now relieved and acquired here for Nemesis Titan.
And look at all of these pickups that have now been made by Nemesis Titan. Sorrowblade is completed for Dragon Dagger. Crucible has been picked up for Loving E-Man. That's going to be very valuable coming into this next engagement, as Stussy could be out of position.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for it. Did we actually get that reflex block? We do. So that Yummy Catnip Frenzy didn't actually really hit that mark, but it doesn't matter. There's just way too much rushdown comp potential going down on top of the Celeste. She has nowhere to go, and after that Rocket Leap, there was nowhere for Jewel to go either.
So even with the reflex block on top of Stussy, it just was not enough to escape the unrelenting pursuit of GankStars Vega. They were easily able to collapse down onto him, and with Stussy out of the equation, it was just a matter of, okay, Dragon Dagger, you're up next. They take him down, and all of a sudden they regain control of the map.
And they're going to be taking that tiny gold payout and saying, oh, this was yours, this is now mine.
They certainly are. Having control over that bottom half of the map is fantastic. The vision that it provides, as well as picking up a relatively early minion candy, means that they're going to have good control over that for a fair amount of time. We're reaching the 10-minute mark now. Currently sitting at a 10,000 gold to 9.5 thousand gold in the favor of GankStars Vega. Still a very close game that could swing either way. It's largely about Nemesis Titan getting the engagements that they want. As long as Loving E-Man can be that front line, can absorb the vast majority of the damage, and they can focus down the appropriate targets, there's no reason why Nemesis Titan can't turn this game around.
Well, the teams are basically wrestling for the gold lead at this point. It's going back and forth, quick and furious. But GankStars Vega are going to be holding the kill lead at this point, so they got to be feeling at least all right. I mean, yeah, they did a little bit of a misplay. They were able to finally retake not only the jungle, but they did get a nice 2-0. That's going to be feeling good to get the adrenaline going and just kind of resume what they were doing this early game. The problem is that early game shenanigans have not really yielded a consistent lead anymore.
Certainly hasn't. Have a look now. Infusion just been picked up for Old School. Fuji hasn't decided to go for one himself. But we could potentially see another engagement coming out from GankStars Vega right now. This is a great opportunity for them to look for a fight.
Yeah, that Frostburn just making sure he can't go anywhere. Here comes the pack mates as Old School is going to be a big target. Fuji coming in. Yummy Cat and Frenzy will hit Dragon Dagger. And now Glaive able to just bring her down. Jewel's going to go down. And now Glaive gets the Celeste into the back. The ace on top of it as well, as it's a clean 3-0 right there for Nemesis Titan, against Nemesis Titan. And now with those frenzied minions, this is a turret at least.
MVP minion mine right there. He did so much work in that engagement. I have no idea why Nemesis Titan tried to go for that engagement, especially with how strong the minion candied gold miner is. That really confuses me. There was no way for them to win that exchange right there.
All right, so one turret to the name. Looks like that will be the end of the adventure, but the frenzied minions are still pushing in. A little bit of chip damage here and there. The jungle has been stolen out. GankStars Vega making sure that they are taking every advantage on the back of these engages. And again, the gold lead no longer really wrestling. 4,000 into the pocket from GankStars, basically from that entire fight.
It certainly has been. Wow, what a fantastic performance coming out from GankStars. They had a bit of a rough early game, but they found the composition that works for them. This aggressive playstyle, this very traditional North American meta has been doing a huge amount of favors for them, and it makes you wonder why Nemesis Titan, knowing that this works so well for GankStars Vega, did not prepare for this coming into Game 3. It should have been something that they would expect.
I mean, it's a triple stun, right? You just take any of these guys and you delete them one at a time, make it a 3v2. That's what Nemesis Titan wants to do, and they've tried this before. Unfortunately, it just hasn't really done them any favors, and coming into this blind pick, it's still not doing them any favors.
It certainly is, and have a look though, Infusion has been picked up for Old School. He's looking for another fight. Yeah, and
Dragon Dagger just comes down to half immediately. There's no Glaive here. Rocket Leap's not really hitting its mark here either. Yummy Catnip Frenzy into the back. Wrecked is there. There's Fuji, but it will be the Glaive kill. We had that Solar Storm go out, but it doesn't really take its mark, and that is an impressive streak. Another kill, this time going to Old School, and Loving E-Man, the only survivor out of that in a 2-0 exchange. Once more, GankStars just takes control of the map, absolutely.
Even in a 3 versus 2, Old School is able to stay alive long enough to force Dragon Dagger to have to jump out of that one, which still wasn't enough because there's a flank coming out from Fuji. They get the kill onto Dragon Dagger, and with him out of the way, there's absolutely nothing Loving E-Man can do to protect his backline. Stussy immediately falls off the back of that, and I was wondering, hey Stussy, why has your Celeste been banned every game? And having a look at this composition that we're seeing right now, it does bring into question because he has not had the game of his life.
The timing is rather fortunate here for GankStars Vega as well. They retook the gold mine, and in less than a minute, we're going to have that Kraken devour him for an immense gold payout. All we got to do is just control this map for a little bit longer, and GankStars Vega is going to go from a 5,000 lead up to about a 6. You have a shopping spree and then a fight, and it could actually just be game right there.
Yeah, they're going for another engagement.
Stussy was the target, but he is into that back. He is really trying to keep that positioning way into the safety line, but there was also no real big cooldowns expended from GankStars. That was literally just a poke and run scenario, but still, the poke is absolutely immense. Stussy was down to close to half just from 2 or 3 hits.
Yeah, Wrecked right now likely to use that second minion cannon that he does have in his inventory to keep control over the immense gold pair. In fact, he's not even going to need to, because the Kraken is about to spawn, and that means that those minion cannons will no longer be needed, as it does look like that breaking point is going to get picked up for Fuji. That is another major power spike reached for him. He's going to be doing an insane amount of damage as the Kraken has just reached the map.
Well, that 16 gold each was definitely a parting gift from the very loyal gold miner. But at this point, again, like 6,000 gold, the breaking point is here, and all we got to do is get a really good engage on top of Stussy. If they do not reflex block, he's going to get deleted out of this one, and that will just be, again, going from bad to worse here for Nemesis Titan. Not only do they only have 4 kills to their name, but they haven't really farmed out their jungle. The items are definitely showing a huge difference. All GankStar Vega is doing is just keeping control of everything, but now Nemesis Titan has actually pushed up to the middle of the map, and they got to know that they are way too far away from any kind of turrets, and that is going to be an afterburn over the wall. That's going to be the kickback. Dragondig is the big target now, but he's going to get a leap. It doesn't matter. Celeste goes down. There was absolutely nothing she could do, and now Dragondig to join her in death. This is, again, the engages that we're looking for, and GankStar Vega will push through that lane whatever Loving E-Man wants to do.
They certainly will. GankStars Vega did a fantastic job of splitting Stuffy away from the rest of his team. Old School isn't going to quite catch on to Loving E-Man, but the question is now, what will GankStars try to pick up off the back of that engagement? Yes, they got 2 kills, which is fantastic, but they didn't even slightly move towards the Kraken, which could have been an opportunity for them to close out the game. I guess they recognize that given that the cooldown, or the death timers even, are still relatively short, taking that Kraken could be a little bit risky. They don't want to afford giving away all that free gold and potentially an avenue for Nemesis Titan to come back into the game. All
right, so Spidey sense tingling. Stussy's saying, I think there's a Fuji there, and he is going to hit gold with it. But at this point, again, like the jungle farm is just way too heavy for the GankStar Vega. They're up 20,000 gold, which is a 7,000 lead. And Koshka, I mean, she picks up some armor. Great. She's just never going to die again. She is sitting at 914 on Old School, now looking to extend that up. Loving E-Man actually goes right back into it. The barrier was there. It has been popped. The buttons are now on cooldown, but Fuji, a little bit too worse for wear, at least for their comfort level. Trying to kite them back here into this bush, trying to kite out the Kite Masters, but 14-4, like, Nemesis Titan, they have to proceed very cautiously. Look at them group up.
Nemesis Titan did a good job of kiting back from that situation. The Frostburn being picked up for Stussy made it a lot easier. I don't know if it's going to be good enough, though.
No, that missed. The Catnip Frenzy not going to get any fruit out of that one, but the Rocket Leap, again, just not doing the damage. The Big Red Button, however, will take home the Koshka, but they're going to be paying for this pretty ridiculously. Wrecked will actually trade out. It's 2 for 2. Fuji doesn't have the hit points, but Loving E-Man doesn't have the damage. That is the ace to the carry of Fuji. That is now going to be a push.
Things are looking pretty rough for GankStars right there. Old School got shut down very, very quickly, but you have to give credit for Fuji and Wrecked. They immediately got on top of Stussy, deleted him from that fight, and it was really easy cleanup after that. Wreck did such a fantastic job of sticking onto the backline and doing so much damage. Having now completed that Warhorn, it's going to be even easier for them to jump onto Stussy and make sure that he has no opportunity to get any damage down in these engagements. And I'm just really impressed with how GankStars are executing these fights.
Despite being down 7,000 gold, we actually traded out 2 for 3 on that engage. And now Stussy and crew, they did lose out another turret, so overall it's just a huge surplus going over to the GankStars. But even behind this far, if we can tweak that a little bit, get a pick a little bit earlier, or separate out this GankStars Vega team, Nemesis could actually still take a fight.
They definitely could. Their composition is slowly starting to scale up, but infusions have just been bought for GankStars. This could be the opportunity that they have been looking for with that small steroid, giving them the weapon power and the crystal power that they need to turn these fights so heavily in their favor as they look to take this minion mine. Right now, this is the opportunity that GankStars are looking for. They're potentially going to try and close out the game with this fight.
Yeah, GankStars coming in from the right instead of the expected left. The silence will go out. The Rocket Leap, however, does not hit any targets, triple stun or not. Stussy is now just getting jumped on, and he's going to go down to the Yummy Catnip Frenzy. Now it's going to be, again, the split from Nemesis Titan. This is what they wanted to do up against the GankStars. It is just not happening. Loving E-Man's not going to go anywhere useful here whatsoever. Not with that Koshka chasing. missing, and that will be a 2-0 exchange. It will actually not be the ace again. GankStars Vega is just having a ridiculously hard time trying to close out at this point, but now, again, they are so far ahead, this should be a clear and easy Kraken.
Yeah, with that Kraken now available to them, this is going to be the opportunity that they needed to finally close out this game. They have been so dominant throughout the game, and with this, they can finally get the pushing power that they need to crack the base of Nemesis Titan and finally bring this series to a close.
19 kills in 19 minutes. The GankStar Vega early game meta is really high tempo. And, you know, 24,000 gold, more gold in thousands than minutes at this point. But again, you know, they might not be able to close out very easily, but with a Kraken, this should be some serious damage, if not the game.
It certainly could be. The question is, do they decide to go for a dive, or do they just wait for the Kraken to siege onto this tower, wait for it to draw some aggro, try and push through before they go for that fight?
I wouldn't rush things, to be honest. I mean, why risk a dive at this point with that turret? The Kraken is just steps away, and now he's here. This is the point right now that you're going to be looking for that fight. Loving E-Man pops that barrier a little bit preemptively, but here comes the rest of the team. The turret is going to be down. Now we're jumping into the back. Stun one on top of that Celeste. He does use that reflex. She's going to be still standing, but Dragon Dagger will not. He is going to drop. Old School is now actually low on the hit points. They do trade it out. 1 and 2. Impressive coming out, and that is going to be a 2-for-1 trade, but again, the Kraken is on these turrets. Can they go for the second? The Catherine doesn't have the damage or the mobility. Glaive really just trying to make sure that she will not solidify the deal. But Loving E-Man, again, just the only survivor out of these fights.
That was such a close engagement. Stussy finally
is this actually going to be the turret?
Did so much damage.
Is this actually the turret?
I think that it will be the turret. So they're going to be quite happy with that. Kraken doing a lot of work for them, actually picking themselves up 3 turrets off the back of that, as well as coming out ahead in a 2-for-1 overall in that engagement. There's just very little that Nemesis Titan can do at this point to come back into the game.
Stussy is sitting at 2-10-4.
Stussy still did a lot of damage, though. Having a look at that last fight, he really did a lot with the Solar Storm. I thought that the fight may have turned in Nemesis Titan's favor, but Dragon Dagger was the one that dropped so fast off of the back end of Fuji's damage and Old School's damage that there was just absolutely nothing that they could do. The Broken Myth being completed, combined with the Aftershock, means that it's so easy for Old School to shred through the lineup of Dragon Dagger, and things have just been going heavily in the favor of GankStars pretty much throughout this match. They're going to pick up those infusions. Now with the open Vein Crystal available, they're going to look to close out this game.
Yeah, no, this is going to be it right here. Fuji's going to find all 3 of them. Even just turning around, they cannot really damage him out. We did get those stuns. The Solar Storm is just tickling them at this point. And the Glaive is just absolutely going crazy. YOLO 1 gets the second, and now this will actually be an ace to their name. And with those infusions and no defenses on the Vein Crystal, this is a GankStar Vega win. And they will continue on to tomorrow's next set of matches. We are saying good night to their opponents.
That was a fantastic series between these two teams. Nemesis Titan should be proud of what they've done because they put up a great fight against the Seed 3 team